alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Okay, everyone, we're gonna now be ready to start our program. So I'm gonna go ahead and introduce you to Shirwa and their Jama. There are people who are gonna do the introduction.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Martida sharafta leh oo meeshaan isugu timid aad baad mahadsantihiin. Imaashada aad timaadeen iyo qaabka quruxda badan oo u soo qamadeen. Waxaan u mahadcelinayaa Hawa Haaji iyo CMCEO team oo shaqadan loo soo abaabulay loo qabtay gaarsiiyana meesha ay maanta joogto. Waxaan kaloo u mahadnaqayaa Hawa Haaji oo qofka xafladatan ay darteed u suurtooday iyo imaashaheeda. Meesha ujeeddada laga leeyahay waa ujeeddo ballaaran. Waxyaalaha ay soo jeedin doonaan gabiyada heesaha waxa ay waxin doonaan waxay ku salaysan yihiin wax bulshada iyada aada muhiim ugu ah oo maxay tahay waa mental health. Mental health waa waxyaalaha annaka noocaas geedkii aanu u baahannahay inaan baranno, inaan ogaano, inaan aqoonno, inaanaan mental health wax ballaaran wey. Aniga hadda oday baan ahay, waxaan soo joogay waddan u dagaal ka dhacay. Waxaan soo arkay wax badan oo maskaxdayda habeenkii maalin ku jira. Marka wax kastoo aan waxaynahayo, wax kastoo aan qabanhayo, wax kastoo aan arkahayo, waxaan ku arkahayaa muraayadaas waan ka dhex arkaya. Maskaxdayda shaydaandii oo kusoo noqonaya. Markaan hadlayo waan iga dareemaya. Marmarka qaarkood waan waxaynaya. Marka dhibaatadii iyo wixii aan soo marnay iyo wixii aan la koowaada aan idiin soo gudbina adinka habeenkii maalin baan kaga sheekaynaa wixii aan soo marnay. Adinkood ogeyn baa traumihii annaka lagu jiray oo annaka maskaxdeeda ku jiray baad adinku la wareegtay. Marka waa waxaan u baahannahay inaanu garanno, inaanu ka shaqayno, inaanu iska kaashano. Marka aad bay farxad noogu tahay. Waxaa programkan laga caawinay lahashadiisa CMCEO iyo Blue Cross Blue Shield oo aanu la nahay partners ay leeyihiin. Marka aad baan ugu faraxsanahay. Soo dhawaada aan u celiyo Shaah aadan oo executive director-ka CMCEO.
Thank you, Other Jama. Good evening, everyone. My name is Shaah Aadan. I am the executive director of Central Minnesota Community Empowerment Organization, also known as CMCEO Group. First, I want to thank Anissa. This would not be possible without her tireless work. Also want to thank CMCEO team for supporting it and all of those who have helped us plan and make this event happen. And thank you all for being here. We really appreciate you taking some time from your day today and being here with us. I want to tell you a little bit about CMCEO. CMCEO is a nonprofit organization based here in St. Cloud. CMCEO serves East African population. We do a lot of, we have two community centers. One of them, these community centers serve as essential work as essential resource for our community. A lot of people come to our centers with something that is bothering them or something that they want to get done, and our team works very hard to help them alleviate that stress or that anxiety that had bothered them before they came to our office. So some things that most of us take as novelty or that does not cause as much stress might cause other people some stress, and especially when you have language and technological barriers. And that itself is part of the mental health situation that our community is having, and our centers alleviate those problems. We also have other programs that we put out in the community. These programs are community health events as well as home buying events. We have And on the 15th, we're doing a home buying workshop event. I hope some of you can join us. And thank you for being here. Thank you, Anissa. We also do an after-school program for over 1,000 kids. Thank you all for being here. We really appreciate your time, and we are excited for the show. Thank you.
deeqo yuusuf soo dhawow si ay noogu daadahayso programkiisa kale.
Thank you. Hello everybody, my name is Deeqo Yusuf and I'm a teacher in the St. Paul School District. Currently, I am actually taking a year off to pursue my clinical social work degree at St. Thomas University. So thanks to Anissa, she asked me to be the host and I agreed on the last minute. Okay, so now I get to introduce the person that you guys have all been waiting for all day, and that is Hawa Haaji. Yes, so I'm just gonna read a short bio of her and then she's gonna come and talk to you. Hawa Haaji is a proud Somali Canadian woman who is outspoken community activist and rapper. That's right, Somali woman who wears hijab is a rapper, you guys. She is globally known social media star. That's the reason you guys know of her and her story. Let's welcome Hawa Haaji, everybody. Better than that, come on.
Personally, featuring me, it's Nardi C. It's Nardi C. Put your hands up. Put your hands up. Hey, hey, hey. I can't go as low as I used to go. Yes, I was going to go into Brahma mode. Does anyone know? Put your hands up if you know what Barambar is. I knew the white people wouldn't put their hands up. Barambar is a cultural folklore dance that we do at weddings. It's the only dance that I personally witnessed that if some Somali lady walks in or is pushed in with a wheelchair, when her tribe is mentioned, she will get up and dance. Because the thing about Barambar is when your family name is mentioned or when they are raised, the blood starts rising, 100 degrees. I don't know if that's a thing. We say in Somali, "Baqalo baqolbu ithage." So I don't know if it's degrees or Celsius, I'm not sure. But they get really, really excited. And the same lady, like I said, and I'm not being an ableist, but she was not able to walk before she came to the wedding. She's jumping like this. Some of them do flips, I've seen it on YouTube. It's true story. So that's Barambar, and when I decided to do my theme song, it wasn't very loud, I don't know why, but that's how Barambar starts. So when we hear that, and we are 50 plus, we hit the circle. No hesitation. It's like when you young people hear the Dougie. I don't know what's in today, but a few years ago, the Dougie and the Nene. We used to call it the butterfly in the 90s. Yeah, sorry, the butterfly is like 94, you were not around. But in the 90s is when I started my hip hop journey. Rap, hip hop, same. And the reason why I started that journey is because my son and me, we were not able to see eye to eye. Number one, he was a short kid. And number two, he was very bad. I don't know how to sugarcoat that. Nowadays, we gotta sugarcoat things for everybody. People are very sensitive. But he was a bad kid. Him and his sister, Hawa Haaji. And my name is actually Hawa Haaji. My husband is Dr. Muhammad Haaji. But I didn't change my name to be romantic or to be American or Canadian. My actual name is Hawa Muhammad Haaji, and I married a guy named Muhammad Haaji. Coincidence. So my son is Samatar Haaji and my daughter Batula Haaji. So my daughter is the one who started acting at first, so I had to learn about the R&B because that's what she listened to. So she used to listen to a lady who I thought her name was Marian Khairia. Years later we found out it was Mariah Carey. I read it wrong in the VHS tape. She used to record the videos in the VCR. If you don't know what that is, don't worry. Somebody will tell you or Google it. So I started singing some of her songs, but she had a high bitch voice. Very, very high. You cannot attain the level of that lady, the way she sings. So I gave up on R&B completely. I was heartbroken. So then I realized that my daughter sometimes listens to Biggie Smalls and 2 Bags of Sugar, and my son listens to 2 Bags of Sugar too. And 2 Bags of Sugar, these are the CDs that I saw in their room. I said, 2 bags of sugar. I pressed play on his boombox player one time when I was cleaning his room. And I heard, lady, don't you know you are appreciated? Put no one above you, sweet lady. I said, this guy is not rapping about violence. He's actually so sweet, really. He's a good role model for my son. So I started to take hip hop more seriously. It started off as a communication tool between me and my son. And then I realized I'm really good at it. So I started entering something called underground hip hop. I couldn't go mainstream because this is how I'm dressed. And they told me, how less is more. And I said, less is more of what? They said, you have too much clothes on. And if you think Cardi B and Nicki Minaj is something, you don't know Foxy Brown, and you don't know Lil' Kim. They have no clothes on either. So I said, you know what, I'm Muslim, I can't take off anything less than, this all like, I thought I was, you know, if you're not wearing the tent one, you're not even fully clothed. It's called a jilbab. It looks like camping gear. So I said, you know what, I'm from the nation of poets, and I realized that this hip-hop stuff is poetry on a beat. So follow me, it's like this. Last name Haaji, first name is Hawa. I'm feeling like the medicine, they call me the Dawa. So for those of you who don't know, Dawa is just medicine, it's wordplay. Ask the ESL teachers. My favorite time was when I was learning in the ESL program. Me and my husband, Dr. Muhammad Haaji, we started at the same time, but I graduated 12th of my class before him. And believe it or not, I wasn't allowed to go to school when I was younger because I'm 50 plus. I was supposed to just feed my brothers, and that's a whole other issue. I'm not a history class, I'm not gonna go there. And I forgave my father. For those psychotherapists in the room, I'm good. But my husband, Dr. Muhammad Haaji, he betrayed me, really. He went behind my back, and out of nowhere, when I was excelling far more than him, out of nowhere, he started losing this broken English accent we had together. So one day I called my house, and someone answered the phone, and he's like, hello? And I thought there was a white guy in my house. And because normally he would say, hello! So he lowered his voice, his pitch was clear, and he was talking like, how may I help you? But without the, I don't know how to do the B at the end. Help is help, like Bible, you know Bible, and police, and Pepsi. That B, he knew how to do perfectly. How may I help you? I swear to God, I was so mad. Because I said, how you leave me? who was higher than you in the desk? He had no explanation. He said, I'm trying to get a job in my field. So my husband is internationally trained professional. He's a doctor back home. And he couldn't find a job. They said, you're overqualified for everything, which means you're underqualified and we don't really like your degree because we don't understand it. So he went back to school, and his mission was to perfect his English. So that's one of the betrayals my husband put me through. He also didn't agree with my rap career. And I had a neighbor named Filfilo. So my husband was going to school. He wasn't completely a deadbeat dad, but he wasn't around either to help me. So I raised those two bad kids on my own. So me and 2 bags of sugar's mom had a lot in common. So I understand the song Dear Mama very well. I thought it was about me. So when I said, I'm gonna go for an award called the Single Mother Award of the Year, my neighbor Phyllis snitched on me. I was about to go up and accept the award, and she came up. I'd never seen this lady run in my life. She ran up and she said, she has a husband. And they said, excuse me? They said, the award goes to, the Single Mother Award of the Year goes to Hawa Haaji, and I'm coming up. Because I know I raised these kids on my own. And they said, ma'am, how can we help you? She said, this is my neighbor. She's panting at this point, holding her knees. She said she's not a single mother. She actually has a husband. And that's how I got disqualified from the award. But to make a long story short, the reason why sometimes now I do rap is because I discovered something that white people have. It's called a hobby. And occasionally I go into the rap battles against the young people, and I show them who's boss. And I say, I'm the boss of no loss. I don't take casualties lightly, because killing someone is like killing all of humanity. That's in Islam, by the way. I don't know which ayah in the Quran because I'm not a scholar, but when they tell you you're a terrorist when you dress like this, you just tell them, no, if I kill one person, it's like killing all of humanity, so why would I do it? It doesn't add up. So nowadays, what I do is I have my own talk show. I have like Oprah, Ellen DeGeneres. It's a low-budget show. We have our own crew. I fired the lady named Karen the other day because she didn't see my vision. And I'm not saying Karen in that way, you know, girls, I know you're laughing, but her name was Karen. It's her real name. So yeah, without further ado, I'm gonna give it back to Delta because she's one of my low-budget crew people. I don't have to pay her much because we don't have the budget yet, but we're gonna get up there. Because, you know, not to quote Drake, but we started from the bottom, now we're here. We're in the same cloud. So I'll see you guys later. And if you see Philphila at the door, don't let her in because no haters allowed. She's wearing also the tent jilbab thing. She looks like a moving campground. I'll be back later.
That was funny. Okay, so now we have a panel of mental health professionals who will be interviewed by Hawa Haaji. Even though we're getting entertained, we're actually here for a serious topic, mental health. And the goal is to normalize mental health. When you have a broken leg, you go to the when you're not feeling right, you need to go to the that's right, yes. So, just a second.
I made my theme song play. This is the talk show back. It's the low budget I was talking about. I'm back because it's my talk show. You never seen the 50 Blessed Lady with her own talk show? Neither have I, honestly. We're not on TV yet. So I need the 3 panelists who will be discussing our topics for today. It's no problem. This happens all the time. You're my first studio live audience, by the way. Yeah, you are, really. No, you gotta turn it on.
Hello. Okay. So we have three mental health professionals. We're going to start with the sisters. We also have a brothers panel. We just wanted to show you guys the representation that's in the field, people who look like us who are doing the work. And so we have Dr. Abian Bashir. We have Lul. And we have Tissan. We're going to come in. Give them a better welcome than that.
Anyway, you can sit anywhere. Hello.
So Lul is actually currently living in St. Cloud, and she's a mental health professional. She currently does therapy for children and adults. Give it up for her, please.
And Dr. Abian Bashir and Intisara are special guests from the cities. And so they're going to tell you guys more about what they do, the services that they provide. But for me, growing up in this country, just seeing three sisters who are in the field, it makes me pretty emotional knowing that they're here for us. So I gotta thank you.
So we're low budget. You have to share the mic between you three. When you are done, you give to her, and so on and so forth. Okay, so welcome to the Hawa Haaji show. This is a special edition. Usually we have more entertainment in the arts because, you know, being a rapper, I get people who are artists, but I realize that art is sometimes a therapy, and why not get actual therapy for therapy? You know what I mean? So I'm really excited to have all of you here. Lul, I want to start with you. What made you decide to do what you do? I think you have to turn it on. Teka, you gotta run like those tennis people, faster. Thank you.
All right, my name is Lulu Noor, and the reason I chose psychotherapy is actually I was going to school for nursing, but I came from a small city in Erie, Pennsylvania, and I took psychology and I fell in love with it. And part of it is, as a child, I used to struggle with anxiety. I didn't know it's called anxiety until I went to school, but this subject really got me interested, and I realized I really want to change the perception of how our community sees mental health. It's not this person that is kind of psychotic, everybody neglects, so I just wanted to change that perception.
I love that. Can I have a round of applause? My live studio audience, my wonderful people. Dr. Evian Bashir, tell us a little bit of how you got to your journey of, and where you are today.
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. So my journey started off because I wanted to make a difference in our community, given my own experience growing up with an immigrant family. And as a child, there's a lot of things that you see, but you don't quite understand. And I think for me, it was more of, there's got to be a better way. And so my work actually started with social work. And I decided I wanted to make a difference because I'm sure that there were other immigrant families who were also experiencing things like, all these police contacts and, when families were having difficulties. And I just didn't think it was fair. It wasn't fair for us to be having, what was a common reaction to coming to a host country, a foreign land that families had no idea how to deal with their own children, but also within the system. And so as I was kind of going through my own journey, for me it was like, that's the problem I'm going to fix, because it wasn't fair for me as a child to to know all of that chaos and dysfunction that was going on, but at that time I didn't know it was. I just knew something was going on. And then, my journey led me to mental health being a root cause of a lot of our dysfunction. Mental health being a root cause of why we didn't feel like we were understanding each other. Eventually, trauma was a big explanation for why we were going through what we were going through. And then I fell in love with the brain and decided to go and get my doctorate to understand the brain and its impact on, when things happen to us developmentally, how does it change the structures of our brain? What happens to us? How does it impact our relationships? How does it impact how we, interact with the world and people? And so I think it was just something that led to one thing after the other, just because of my interest as I explored different options.
The reason why, can I have a round of applause? I haven't cried since 92 and I almost cried. The reason why I got emotional is when I was going through it with my son, Dr. Hawa Haaji, there was no resources in the 90s. There was no people who looked like me. There was no people who understood, and there was no way I could explain in my language because of the language level I was at. Now I'm top level. I have an accent, but I know. I say Adam Arabia, no problem. But why you got me emotional is you said in your own journey, and I'm very sure that the people who are 50 plus like me, they have really, I don't know how to say in English that one, because it's not anger. Anger is not the word. Real is like when you, what is it? Not jealousy. No. It's like a resentment, but in a more positive way that these services did not exist. Where unfair, I like that. But it's not unfair because this just didn't exist. But with you guys coming is a game changer. I don't think we're gonna feel ill anymore. Thank you for your existence. And this girl, the reason why I want to stop with this girl is at 50 plus, back then I had anxiety attack almost. And she helped me, and we're gonna show you how she helped me deal with it back there. It's not a joke. I know I say funny stuff, and you can laugh anytime at Hawa Haaji. But this one is very serious, okay? But it's gonna be funny when I do it. It's fine. But show them and explain what we did back there to help me. Young people, even Hawa Haaji had anxiety. It's normal.
All right, everyone. My name is Intisar Hassan. So backstage, what Hawa Haaji and I worked on is something called the power stance. So as somebody who does a lot of public speaking, initially I was very nervous about it. So how do I get over that? Instead of envisioning everybody being naked, it's kind of awkward. So instead
And haram.
that too. So instead of that, there is something called the power stance that I showed her backstage. And it's something that I do. It's a little goofy.
I'm gonna do it with you.
Okay.
Show them. Let's show them.
All right. So typically when I am in a room by myself, so before I have to speak, I come in the empty room about an hour before, and then I do my power stance. So, and then I use words of affirmation. So Anissa's cards would be perfect. So example. So like this.
I can only do one hand, but they get the picture.
All right. I'll do the other hand.
Okay,
And
we
then-
complete each other.
And then you say words of affirmation. I got this.
I got this. Let's say it. I got this.
And then the other stance, you put your foot forward.
This one is hard on the knees.
All right, you put your foot forward, and then you go like this, and you say, I can do
Not
this.
white power.
And then you say, I can do this.
I can do this.
I'm confident.
I'm confident.
I got this.
I got this. And I want all the young people to know that those feelings are real, no matter how old you are, everybody experience it. And tell us a little bit about your journey and what you do.
Okay. So similar to what Evian said, mental health is huge in our community. I started off with my bachelor's in social work. So for anybody who knows, bachelor's degree in social work is a lot of paper pushing. So you don't really get to have a lot of the client contact. So I ended up health, generational trauma. And then I was also really passionate about grief and loss and end-of-life care. So after I got my MSW, I ended up going into hospice care. So I was a hospice social worker for about 5 years. And that's like an untouched field in our community. So in addition to...
And what is hospice for people who don't know?
So hospice is dying comfortably. So individuals that have a terminal diagnosis, it's not euthanasia, which a lot of people think it is.
And we don't need to know euthanasia is actually with a lot of young people. But what we need is that the difference, yes.
So hospice focuses on, to me, hospice is very Islamic focused. It's all about dying comfortably, knowing that you have a terminal diagnosis. It doesn't mean that you die sooner. It just means that when your time is coming, you just are comfortable. So a lot of the individuals who joined hospice that were Somali felt like maybe it was haram, because then it's kind of like giving up, but it's not. You're continuing to fight. It's just in a different way without doing like chemotherapy and like causing more harm to your body. You're focusing on more the holistic way.
I love it. Can I have a round of applause? And you know, when I first set out to have a talk show, I said, am I going to be like Ellen and dance? I can't do that. You know, I realized that there was a gap in the community, and it's highlighting all of the beauty, all of the talent, all of the education. And I hope my budget increases, because I'm going to go all over the world with this. I'm onto something, right? So, without further ado, I don't know why people say without further ado, by the way. It's just something they put in the conversation. I want each of you to tell us a highlight story or something that you're proud of that happened in your journey, or it happened in your, you don't have to share. I know client privilege, you have to be confidential. You can't tell any of the story about nobody. They know the law. So if you want to go to people who look like you, they're not allowed to tell the neighbor, like, Filfilo, don't go to Filfilo. She's not professional and she'll snitch on you. But go ahead, tell us something positive or anything anecdotal for the young people. And the older people, sorry, you count too.
Well, I worked in the school system for about 10 years, so I really enjoy working with my little kiddos. I enjoy working with families. One of my biggest accomplishments is starting Bridge Healing Center and moving to St. Cloud. It was really a big deal to me. I really enjoy the community. I love just how warm and welcoming everybody is here. So I'm proud to be part of St. Cloud community, and Bridge Healing Center welcomes me.
Same question.
And so just
Positive.
okay. Without going into detail, I think I would say the powerful transformation of a young person who experienced significant trauma through young life and throughout adolescence, who also identified as Somali, and seeing the impact that year of therapy can make. I'm just incredibly proud to know. And also a big part of my work is primarily working with non-Somalis, not by choice. It's just places that I've gotten a bulk of my training was in front of the dominant community. Here and there, did I get people of color? Absolutely. Did I always try to apply for places that would get me in front of people I was passionate about working with? Yes. Did I always get that? No. And so you can't really control that. But I was fortunate to see what myself as a clinician could do with another person who identifies and looks like me, but also to show that this Somali Nimo could work into your advantage, right? That it wasn't something that had to impact our relationship or this informality that people get really, really worried about coming to another Somali clinician, but also that I'm held to a certain level of standard and that I'm freely going to give that to you. And knowing that she was able to use that Somali Nimo to her advantage, because a bulk of therapy was not about understanding her existence, right? Not understanding her experience. That was already given. Plus some, right? Because we also shared biculturality. We also, we shared this like 1.5 survivor generation, identity that was there, and the work that was done was just like, this is where I belong. This is where my life's work is.
You answered my next question, exactly. Somali women and mental health, and using it to your advantage. I love that.
All right, so for me, my biggest moment was being a therapist is one of the biggest moments I've had. But in addition to that, I teach at Augsburg, so that was huge for me. When I was in my master's program, I didn't see anybody that looked like me. So I made a promise to myself that I would be at the other end of the table. And in 2018, I was able to make that come true. And my first class was with 3 Somali young ladies, and I came into class and I'm preparing, and they're asking me about the teacher. And when I said I'm the teacher, they all looked at me like, no way. So to me, like seeing
And you do look 12 years old, sorry.
so being able to give back in that way has been huge for me.
I love that. I love that. Well, that definitely does conclude my first episode. I'm going to have another episode because we need to see some guys in the field. That's coming later on. But we have a commercial break. And Becca will tell us what's coming up next. You guys, you just walk that way. Be careful, we don't have insurance.
Thank you, girls.
Give them a round of applause.
All right, so we need to take a monthly break. But before we do that, we have one more guest speaker that we need to invite over here. Where's Delbert? Delbert. No hands, so let's go. So we invited Delbert like the last minute, and he was gracious enough to accept our invitation. So let's thank him, please. Clap for him. I don't know if you guys know this, but Delmar is very active in our community. He really does give it back a lot, and he has also worked in our school district for many years. So for that, we are very grateful to him.
Thank you for inviting me. I was not supposed to speak today, but I just want to thank everybody who organized the event. waxaan idin sheegayaa sinclair sanado ka hor suurtagal kama ahayn programmo noocan oo kaleta in community loo keeno oo dad dhalinyaro ah oo well educated ah oo waxyaabo badan oo Soomaalida aynu ognahay inaan guryaha ku haysano. People think mental health is Soomaalida waxaan haysanaa qof waalan ama maskaxda ka jiran oo kaleta. It's not like that. Mental health waxa weeyaan xataa stresska faraha badan oo guryaha ka jiro innaga uma face garayno sidii saxda ahayd. Laakiin inaan haysano dhalinyaro yaryar oo gabdha iyo wiilal isugu jira oo fieldkaas ku jira oo ummadeenna waxa u tareeya in ay ka waaniyaan ama ay la socodsiiyaan ama ay educate gareeyaan about mental health. Waxa waaye was something very amazing, and I'm proud of you guys who are on the stage today. I'm proud of you kuwa iman doona stageka soo kori doona mar dhawaan inshallah. And I am thanking you guys for doing this program and inviting Hawa Haaji, which is Goda's, we're good friends. I met her in Toronto. She's amazing and funny. Thank you for coming to St. Cloud. This is my city. Alright? So I come to you in Toronto. I come to you in Toronto and you welcome me very well. Like this is my city. Welcome to St. Cloud.
I'm very welcome. You're the nicest people I've seen in a long time. Yeah, and when he said about mental health, I love the fact that we're talking about it so comfortably. It's like not stigma, not taboo anymore to talk about these topics. Keep rising, St. Cloud. And these people, we might recruit them to Canada. We need them. So you might lose them, I'm not sure.
And we're so proud of you guys.
We're really
to
proud.
have young, educated girls and boys who are educated in our community. It's something that we have to do more often. more events like this. And especially our people, Somali people, we go through a lot of mental health at home that we don't know. I was listening to this story, I think it was a Canadian story. My wife made me listen bad time. I was about to go to sleep. She made me listen to this story. It's Hannah? Is it Hannah?
But look it up.
I
That's
start-
all we can say.
I start crying. And it was all about mental health. I started
Yes.
crying in the middle of the night. Like I had to have a dream about my mom who passed away in 2019. It's really something that we go through but we don't know. So
Yes, and we don't want to trigger anybody, even though we do have professionals. If you ever feel triggered, if you ever feel like today's topic is heavy, make sure you reach out to someone you love or any of the professionals we have here.
exactly.
But absolutely, the digital sisterhood,
Yeah.
look it up. And for the old, and I don't recommend it for anybody who's young, because mental health topics are it's not for everyone. When you guys are young, just have fun. Keep doing you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And thank you so much, everybody who came. We're supposed to do more than this, inshallah. And dad fara badan oo magaalada jooga, especially hooyooyinka and maamooyinka waaweyn, in aan sidan oo kale intaan ugu yeerno ay noo yimaadaan af Soomaali iyo English labadaba dadka loogu fasiro waa lagala hadlo waxaan aan ka hadlayno inay wax guryaha dhexdooda inoo yaalla aynaan ogeyn inay yahay. That's one thing that you need to realize. It's something that we go through, but we don't understand and we don't know a lot about it. So it's good to have people who know, who are professional, who are educated, to listen and take a lot of education about it. And thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me. I'm glad to see you, Hawa.
That's my big brother. Because in my mind, I'm 21, not 50 plus. That's what I mean by that one. He's our celebrity. You guys, he lives here. That's not easy.
Thank you so much, Hawa, all the amazing ladies that were interviewed. Don't think that I forgot about Maghrib prayer. I did not. It was in the schedule. And so I just want to break now. We're going to go pray and then come back at 7:20, where we're going to have poetry and more interviews and a lot more for you guys, inshallah. So thank you.
So, my name is Habiba Ali. I am a playwright, poet, but most I'm proud of, I'm a proud mother of 6 children. I have 5 girls and 1 boy. Poor little son of mine. He's 3 years old. It's hard to keep up when you have more than 2 children. But the reason why I decided to come out as me and not as Hawa Haaji is the crowd is small enough that you guys won't snitch to the whole world that I'm not actually 50 plus. But it's really important when I saw the amount of young people in the room for you guys to understand that, and I'm actually very nervous. So the reason why I created Hawa Haaji is, who knows what an alter ego is? Put up your hand if you know what an alter ego is. I think Beyonce has one, Sasha Fierce, I'm not sure if she still uses her. But sometimes when you're not comfortable doing something that you love, because of anxiety and because of fear, you can sometimes, as an artist, me personally, create another persona to help you cope. And that's what I've done through Hawa Haaji. I've also created Hawa Haaji because as a person who grew up in Canada, so in the 90s, my mom and my dad, we didn't have the best communication styles because you know how culturally we're raised as being young in Somali. It's kind of tough because they needed to have that resilience to cope with what they went through back home that brought us to these nations. And sometimes the words that are needed to communicate those things weren't there. So I created Hawa Haaji as of like how I would have liked my mom to communicate to me. So a lot of you identify with Hawa Haaji and you guys are taking pictures with her because I think we all can see that she's maternal, but she's cool. And when I say cool, it just means easy to talk to, you can relate to. So my journey in the arts didn't come to me naturally, meaning like it's not something that I identified with right away that I'm an artist. But then when I started to learn about my culture and my roots, I realized that Somalis are very artistic people. We have a deep, deep connection with the arts. We are absolutely one of the most talented poets in the world. How many people heard of Hadrawi, Allah yarhamah? Put up your hand. Yum Yum, Harais Sikasha, Hadika Lawahan Laha Ahe. Right? All of those great poets are who and where we come from when it comes to poetry. And Allah yarhamah, a lot of the other artists who were in plays and theater, Saada Ali, Fatima Ali Nkrumah, all of these greats were people our parents used to watch. So I said, Mom and Dad, how come you guys are so spiritual? You guys never went to no cinema, y'all never listened to no music. And then my parents started becoming real with me when I got a little bit older. They know all the lyrics to every song. They used to do the twist and jazz to Elvis and Michael Jackson, believe it or not. They know it all. But as a defense mechanism, so you don't lose your spirituality and then lose yourself, they act hard. They act like, no, I never went through that. Because they're first generation raising children here in the land that they don't know what their children are going to fall into. But if you really communicate with your parents or attempt to, you'll see that they're just big kids that had you. They're really fun, loving, they're really open. They had crushes on people. They dated people before they got married in the sense, the halal way, where there was like 15 ants in the room, but they still got to know one another, and these are all normal feelings, and these are normal conversations you can have with your parents. And for the parents in the room, I'm sorry, the jig is up, but we know you're normal. So the reason why I decided to come out as me, as Habiba, and not a 50-plus character that I created from my plays, because I've been doing playwriting for 15 years, and she's been a character that has a lot of stories and a lot of things that she went through with her own family. So Samat Haji is her son, Batul is her daughter, Dr. Muhammad Haji, the internationally trained professional doctor, is her husband. But those are all characters that I created. And I wanted to share that with you all because that's the art. And sometimes it's easier to communicate through art than it is to give you a lecture like I'm doing now, because it's funner, right? It's more relatable. I'll be able to, if I rap about something right now, it's much cooler than me just talking about it. But I wanted to take this opportunity in St. Cloud, since you guys don't know me and I came from somewhere very far away, to tell you young people, follow your dreams. If you have a talent, pursue it. If you are a writer, write. And the therapies that are traditional, like these young, beautiful young women are doing, is one way of dealing with what we're going through. But art can also be therapy. And if you have this genetically predisposition talent within your genus, not the ones we wear in, but the DNA one, then you gotta tap into it. So that's why I came up here to share with you guys a little bit about what it looks like to pass down that art. So, without further ado, I want to tell you guys about my 16-year-old who I got the privilege to pass the poetry gene to, which I know was passed down through history because I'm from the nation of poets, and so are you. Beautiful Somalian children, this is genetic. So I want you to hear my 16-year-old daughter, Istahil Zakaria Ismail, and her poem, and then somebody that means a lot to her responded to her. So can you please play that? Do you need my microphone too? Guys ready? And this poem is about COVID, and we know what COVID for the past little while has done to a lot of us, and she's speaking from a 15-year-old, she wrote it when she was 15, a 15-year-old perspective, because everybody felt COVID differently at every age, right? So this is what she's talking about. It's called What It Took.
What it took. It took the ability for me to go outside. Oh, it took me on quite the ride. the only journey I ever took while inside. Not to get in my feelings, but it affected my pride. Never been so sick of where I reside. Hated all the rules being forced to abide, causing the inner me and the outer me to collide. The helplessness started to arise, anxiety and frustration, much to my surprise. Only then did I realize what COVID-19 actually took. It took the strength within me to stay afloat. Patience so deep, you can call me the GOAT. Greatest of all time, not to be such a gloat. But this pandemic was really rocking my boat. Feeling like a storm was coming, but on another note, I would smile on the face of my family so they couldn't see what I really wrote. Using the depths of my pen, who am I kidding? I use my iPhone notes. My mom said it's therapeutic to write lines upon lines, so that was my new plate. It took everything in me. I knew I had to fight the depressive feelings and look for my light, 'cause darkness will not dwell where it's bright. It's like an oxymoron, sweet and sour. I was forced to check minute by minute, hour to hour. It took everything in me not to remain sour, 'cause how could I let a pandemic take all my power? It tried to take it, it tried to break it. I had to fake it, but then I realized that I did make it. So really, it's not what COVID-19 took from me, but realizing what it took within me to still be here. Thank you.
And sometimes with young people, we don't really know what's going on in their minds. And unless they articulate it somehow, we won't ever know. So I'm really proud that she was able to put that together. And in Canada, we're dealing with a lot of young people who are really struggling with mental health, probably the same issues here, all the way up to what is called ideation. I don't want to go further than that, but for the older people, to talk to the younger people, to make sure you check in on them is very important, because they have their own journeys and they have their own struggles, much different from ours, but still very relevant and very valid in everything that they feel. So she read that poem to my brother, and in Somali, the word abti means uncle, but it's further, it's deeper than that. I call my mom's brother abti, and I call my dad's brother Ader. Ader means uncle, but paternal uncle. But abti is the maternal uncle. And when the maternal uncle calls you abti, you vice versa call him abti back. So, and there's a mahmah, which is a proverb in Somali culture that states, your abti is like your halili, abtiga wa hoya an nas lahain. It translates very loosely to your maternal uncle is like your mom, but without the ability to nurse you. So that shows that your maternal uncle sometimes is a lot closer than anybody else. And luckily for me, my brother, the one who's responding to my daughter's poem, has that relationship with my daughter. And she opened up to him a lot about the struggle she was facing with bullying and school and a lot of other things, and struggling with online learning, as probably a lot of you were doing. So he responded to her, and he was shocked that she was able to articulate herself at that level artistically. So this is his response.
Istahil, you called me and you asked me if you can read me a poem that you wrote. And I said, of course you can. And you know what? As I started to listen, I started to wonder, how can such a young soul be so wise, be so in touch with reality? See, people like you, they go on and change the world. You inspire me every day. Matter of fact, you inspired me to write. So hopefully my response can serve as a reminder that Upti is and will always be your biggest fan. I love you very much. The title of this response is called Letter to My Upti. Summer tulips, spring was behind us. The day you were born was another blessing from God to remind us. We were searching for glory only for God to help find us. Shedding of tears, this new flower must have affected our sinus, a delicate soul. The beauty was prolific, a treasure of gold, black gold to be specific. You're all grown up. Don't let this world ever change you. Don't let your smile go down, Upti. That's the greatest gift God gave you. Always remember, a pure heart never wavers. No matter the storm, be calm and say your prayers. I read your poems. I hope you never put the pen down. Proud of who you are. I hope you never feel let down. I hope you never feel lonely. And if you ever feeling down, Upti, please just phone me. Trust me, Upti. I know what it took. You can't hide your pain from me. I know how it looks, so keep going. Keep the movement alive. I promise that everything gets better with time. I promise. I'll always be a voice of reason. To say I don't love you is an act of treason. I gave you your name, so we're forever connected. And that was the highest honor that I've ever been blessed with. You touched my soul and you don't even know it. Upti, you're my favorite poet.
And that inspired her to write again, and this is the final poem I'm going to share with you this evening. And it's called You Believed in Me, because when somebody tells you they believe in you, and I'm going to give you a little short story before we play it. When I was growing up, I was the only playwright that looked like me. I was the only poet with a hijab that was performing in the local poetry scene. And a lot of people, because of fear, like I told you, with our parents, our neighbors, told me, that's haram, don't be talking in front of men, this might not be good for you, you might get lost in the sauce, all of those things. So I think my daughter has a better chance to be thriving in her arts than I did, because I still struggle with self-doubt and limiting beliefs and not thinking I can do stuff because of what I went through as a young person, not being supported enough. So I hope with your parenting, new parents, people wanting to have children, that you encourage your children, whatever they want to do, as long as it's not harmful to them and yourselves, because they might change later on. They might go into a totally different field. So believing in each other and telling each other that is one of the key things to a person's success. And I think she'll be able to articulate it way better than me.
I believe in you. There's nothing you can do. 'Cause if I believe in you, there's nothing you can do. When an adult tells you, I believe in you, you start to believe what they're saying is true. No matter the idea, you are able to follow through. So much so it becomes what you try to pursue. On the other hand, it works the same way. You start to internalize what they say, especially if what they say brings you down. It's kind of hard for you to turn things around. I remember when my talent was first brought up to me, I rejected the idea of having a talent right away. How could my words have an impact in any way? How could what I enjoy doing as an outlet to bring positivity that in fact can be someone else's tranquility? The person who reminded me of my talent was an adult who couldn't have known how much it meant to me. It gave me confidence to go and write my poetry and now perform it in front of all of you. See, this is what a cycle of sharing kind words and encouragement can do. I mean, it's easy to tell a kid, take a hike. You sure you don't want to go over there and ride your bike? I've heard all these things before, but for a kid like me, words are our fuel. Words uplift us. We remember what you said, how you said it, where you said it, and how it made us feel. Sometimes I got impacted by words, my emotions I could not conceal. Trust me, not to quote Hawa Haaji, but it's not easy. So take it from me, because what helped me see was hearing, I believe in you. There's nothing you can do. 'Cause if I believe in you, there's nothing you can do. Ooh.
So I get emotional sometimes because as a parent, to see generational growth right in front of you is absolutely mind-boggling. And I hope that moved all of you, because I really wish for the young people that you believe in yourselves. And don't let anyone put you down. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Habiba. That poetry was beautiful. Honestly, I have to take a second to just let it sink in. It's so beautiful that such a young child is, sharing with the world how much influence her abti's positive language has on her. And so positive language can go a long way, as we all see. So before we go on to the brothers panel, I'm going to invite up a fellow poet, Mohammed Salat, to come up and actually read a poem with me. So. I don't think I introduced myself. I'm just the lady by the podium. I'm just like, so my name is Hawa Haaji Mohammed. I'm an author, I'm a poet, I'm a teacher, I'm a mom, and I've lived in St. Cloud since 2016, and I'm just now really immersing myself in the community, so that's why you see me everywhere now. So today we're going to read a poem that I first wrote. It's called Mahaka Maqan. It is in Somali and English. Mine is more English, I should say. I have a few lines that are in Somali. So basically, to give you some background on this poem, Mahaka Maqan. Has anyone ever heard that question from their parents? Mahaka Maqan. If they say, I feel anxious, Mahaka Maqan. You're literally sheltered. There's nothing missing from you, right? That's what our parents say. And so this poem answers, right? What is missing from me is. And so I read this poem at a book launch event that I hosted with Abdi. And my brother Mohammed here, Salat, he created a Somali version. So he responded to me with a Somali poem and basically took the essence of Mahaka Maqan and created that version. So I'll read mine first and then you can read your response. All right. Mahaka Maqan. Wahaiga Maqan, peace of mind, a respite from overthinking, of resting at night like others, and entering the garden of dreams. Instead, I lie awake, regretting what was before, anxious of what is to come, as the present continues to elude me. Wahaiga Maqan, a mental burden lifted. I carry the expectations of achieving dreams unfulfilled, of crossing boundaries unnavigated, attaining accolades and diplomas, of carrying the torch of hope with my bare hands, of not wincing, not complaining, as the fiery flames of this force roll engulf me completely, leaving no residue of who I was or what I could have been. Wahaiga Maqan, belonging, to feel at home, in my own bones, not too black for this crowd, too white for the other, too foreign for this circle, too western for the other. How can I identify when all that I identify with rejects me? I am a nameless, faceless ghost, longing for and seeking out familiar leaves, friendly waters, founded foundations, something to call my own. Wahaiga Maqan, acceptance, that depression is not a myth, a conspiracy of Galo, a break from tradition, a rebellion against religion, a coup, overthrowing all that you know, disregarding all that you do. It's an illness, a dark cloud, a swallowed pain, a bottomless well of emptiness. Wahaiga Maqan, honesty, that you too hurt, that in the wrinkles beneath your eyes and between the gaps in your teeth, on the calluses of your palms, that you carry pain that traveled miles with you, that you too are hurting, that bloodshed can be washed from your hands, though not so easily from your mind, that you feel alone, that you feel without a home, that you lie awake many nights, worrying about what has been and what is yet to come, that I put a name to your pain, that I put a name to my pain, that I put a name to our pain, that together we can overcome.
before Mohammed starts reading, I want to give him a proper introduction so that you guys can know about him. He's an amazing community member. He lives here in St. Cloud. So Mohammed lived in St. Cloud. Hamsalat lived in St. Cloud for about 6 years and works with St. Cloud School District. He graduated from St. Cloud State University with a bachelor's degree in business management and is working towards a master's in educational administration and leadership. Both of Mohammed's parents are poets, and he started writing poems at the age of 12. All right, take it away, Mohammed.
waxaan ku hadli doonaa anaga Soomaaliya baan inta badan ku hadlay maadaama uu gabaygayga Soomaali yahay siday idii sheegtay aniso waxay maansada ujeedkeeda ayadaa lahayd markii hore waxay tiri maxaa kaa maqan iyo waxaa iga maqan su'aal iyo jawaab ayay ahayd kadib anisa ayadoo akhriyaysa poemkeeda ama gabaygeeda ayaanu is aragnay aan ku kulannay xaflad sidan oo kale markaas waxaan ka codsaday anise inaan ma aragtay af Soomaali ka dhigo. It's not a direct translation of maahan gabayga sidii ma aragtay inuu ka turjumayo laakiin essence-kii ama ujeedkii ayaan ka qaatay markaasaan Soomaali ahaan ka dhigay wuxuu ku bilaabanayaa sidana maxaa kaa maqan balheede jirkaaga muxuu u wiiqmay hankaaga maxaa madluunshay maxaa midabkaaga dooshay haddaad arag maalin gaajo dartaada haddaan u moosay asxaab iyo meela joogba markhaati haddaa ka tahay inaan maaliya waqtiba adiga ku huray macaan marka hooyada ayaa wiilku weydiinayso oo waxay leedahay maxaa kaa maqan bay leedahay korkaaga haddaan ku miisay hugiyo maree qiimo badan haddaad macaluul dhib arag maxaa kaa maqan balheed wuxuu ugu jawaabaya marka waxaa iga maqan aniga madluun iga dhigay dharaaro habeenna mugdiga u toosay miisaankaygiyo jirkuba waxaa midabkayga doorshay amuura milkiyay naftayda aqoonta macaaradaaya kaskayga maqaamka toosan u diiday wixii macquula cunugii baa jawaabaya marka waxaa iga maqan aniga masiibo dadkayga hayso dhibaato muggeeda gaadhay inuu ubadkii masuugo macaanka dhex jooga qoyska ilmaha marka dhibta gaartay inta badan qoysku way ka dhex cararaan oo goonni inay u goostaan ay jecel yihiin markhaati dhibtaan haraysay tusaale haddaan mid sheego cabdiyo middle school dugsiga meel qura ka aadnay markuu tagay high school saaxiibada meesha joogay markuu la tashtuu ku raacay bilowgii darooga miisan hadduu miyirkiisa doormay maandeeriyo uu hareeyey waqad murugaan dhammaanin maxaa kaa maqan su-aashu miyay xalisaa dhibtiisa waxaana iga maqan ka weyn hug iyo maree qaymo badan calooshoon buuxsha maalmo habeenkoon meel firaash leh ku seexda sariir maqaamo waxaana iga maqan ka weyn masiirkiiyo diinta toosan inaan muslim qaalis ahay salaada markeeda oogo ha yeeshee cudurku maagay marnaba kugu dhaafi maayo diin iyo muslim qaalis toona waxaa iga maqan aniga bulshada midkii aan aqiinay markuu araggayga diido faquuqoo magac takooran ii muusaan sidii qofaysan dib iyo midab ay wadaagan inta badan waxaa dhacda dadkeena dhimir kala inaanu moosno ama aan ma aragtay takoorno waxaa iga maqan aniga markii murugada lafteeda masiibada dhimirka gaadho midaan la aqbalin ahaato khuraafaad loo maleeyo micnaha bulshadeenna moodo shirqool u maleegtay gaalo waxaa iga maqan aniga xasuus maskaxdayda jiifta kaskayga miduu dareemo qaxya meedkii warnaa dhammaan marinada dalkeenna markaa igu tiri in badan ayaa madfac lagu xasuuqay dadkeenna dhibaatooyinkii dhacay markii hataa ilmaha looga sheekeeyay inta badan ilmahaasi waxay dhibaatay u geynaysaa marka intaasu ku egaha aad iyo aad ayaad mahadsanayaan
Incredible. Thank you so much, Mohammed. All right. We can take a second to just let it. I like to just let let things soak in, absorb it, not rush the process. But thank you so much, Mohammed. I wrote that poem because I saw that there was this gap that existed between the generations, between Walidka and Emmaha. So there's this disconnect. Like Mohammed was saying, there's issues at school, and the parents just misinterpret it as something very superficial, something like, you know, like if you're well fed, if you have new clothes, if you have shelter, then hakamatan, you know? And so, thank you so much, Mohammed, for reading with me. And now we are going to move on to another segment with Hawa Haaji. This time, instead of interviewing sisters, she's going to have 3 brothers, 3 male representatives in the mental health field, because we're out there, mashallah. Just know that in every field, there's someone who looks like you. I'm a teacher. Dafa, who's our host, she's a teacher as well, but she's going into clinical social work. So there's someone from every field there to represent you and to show you that they are there for you. And so without further ado, I'm going to welcome back Hawa Haaji to the stage. He's coming, I promise.
That's not true. Don't listen to the hype. I'm as real as they come. I'm 50 plus. I'm a rapper. We got it going on, right? This is episode 2. It's called What Do the Brothers Do Too? We need our woke imam. You know who you are. Abhir Bliss. We need Ahmed. We need Brother Ali. All of you. We heard from the ladies and what they do with mental health and who they and why they do what they do. We need the brothers to tell us the same thing. So
give them a hand, y'all.
Yes. I don't know. St. Cloud, you're a little bit stacked. It's like, you know, you have Steph Curry and LeBron and Michael Jordan. It's not fair. 3 Somali guy professional in the mental health field. I can't believe it. Welcome. Everybody give them a round of applause. Dada, you need to run with the mic. I told you. Like the tennis people, channel the tennis. When the ball, they run.
So we just want to let you know that this is the last part of the program, so please bear with us.
You're doing great. It's low budget show. And we don't have a musical guest. It's not easy. Don't worry. Delmar was supposed to sing, but he said something about something. Okay. Welcome, boys. Round of applause again. We just didn't have the budget to pay him, so it's fine. I gotta tell the truth, otherwise the kids, there's children here. Tell us your journey. Ali, I want to start with you this time. Tell us your journey. How do you do why do you do what you do?
My name is, thank you, Hawa Haaji, for having me. My name is Hawa Haaji. I'm a mental health and addiction counselor here in St. Cloud. I'm a co-founder of Sheeko Center. Got into therapy and mental health because I worked as a career counselor for about 5-6 years. And I was seeing a lot of people coming to me looking for jobs, but they were depressed, they were anxious, they couldn't get out of the house. So I was working more on getting them out of the house. Then I saw myself in the field and have a passion for it and went back to school. So that's how I started in mental health.
So you were actually doing the work before you were qualified indirectly. I love that. And that's when you knew you had a knack for it. I love that. You want to tell us a little bit about you, Brother Ahmed, and what you do?
Yes, my name is Amir Hassan. I started an agency called Summer Guidance 2010, so that's been a while. The reason I get into this field is I used to work as an employment counselor, and then I used to work with a lot of psychologists to do an assessment. And I remember in those assessments, a lot of it will come back, and when I ask the Somali mothers who were into public assistance, the diagnosis or some of the assessment will come different than the mainstream community. So then I said, well, maybe I should go into the field and I can do an assessment, a better assessment at the time. And then when I started majoring my master's in counseling psych, I fell in love with therapy as opposed to assessment. So that's how I get into the field, and I started Summit in 2010. And then in Summit, I provided psychotherapy and then skills training. And it was interesting at the time because a lot of people that I worked with were mostly elders. And I remember one of the interesting events is that one time, some elders came to me and then they said, well, you are a doctor. And I wasn't a doctor. I had a master's in counseling science at the time. So then I started asking questions after questions after questions to do the diagnostic assessment. And then at the end, one of them said, well, where is the medication? And I said, I don't prescribe medication. And then he said, well, what do you do? And I said, I do talk therapy. And then he looked at me, just talking, that's all you do? And I said, yes, that's all I do. And then he looked at me and he said, you wasted your time. Why didn't you become a medical doctor? So that was an interesting experience. But it was interesting that some of these elders actually get used to therapy and kept coming. And some of them I worked with them for years. So that was an interesting experience.
I love that you talked about the elders because Dr. Muhammad Haji was in denial that he had depression because he couldn't find a job in his field. And then when he started going to talk therapy, no one can shut him up. He started telling from the beginning to the end, like childhood. He even thought he felt things in the womb of his mother. It was deep.
Bismillah, salatu wassalamu ala Rasulullah. I'm a big fan of gratitude, those who know me. So I'm going to take a minute, let's take a deep breath in and out. So I would like to, first of all, thank all of you who have organized this event. And how can we not thank the only one, Hawa Haaji. Give it up!
It's not easy. Not easy.
Anyway, my journey towards counseling, the health profession, started way when I was young. I always wanted to be in the helping profession. But as you know, I was the first person to graduate from high school from my family. Firstborn boy, and as an immigrant, your parents tell you to go to college, get the family out of the poverty line. And I went that route and I wasn't satisfied. And what also pushed me is, as young men in Somali community, we were never taught to be in tune with our own emotions. And it's not because our parents failed, but because at that time, they didn't have the resources and the luxury to do that. They surviving, on a survival mode. So they had to provide food, safety. You couldn't go to your mom and say, oh, yeah, I feel sad. She would say, "Mahakama," you know? So, and I come from a perspective of an Islamic perspective, because I'm a full-time imam. And
MashaAllah. Give it up.
I'm also a mental health care coordinator. I'm working towards my counseling degree right now as we speak. But right now, I work as a care coordinator, mental health care coordinator. So my journey is to have, first of all, male representation, number one, and two, an Islamic perspective to CBT. That's my main mission.
And CBT stands for?
Cognitive behavioral therapy. Basically, we change your perspective. We don't change the problem. We change how you think about the problem. And as Muslims, and I have to say this everywhere I go, and from a Western paradigm, Islam came to be a holistic religion. And if you go, I gave this example to a panel at my workplace. I said, if you take a DSM-5, the Diagnostic Manual for Americans Psychological Association, and a book written by a famous Islamic scholar called Bakhlawi, it's like literally copy, not giving the rights to the author. So Islam came to take care of our physical, mental, and spiritual health. And it's called Naqasid al-Sharia. The necessities of the religion is to protect five: to protect the intellect, the property, the lineage, and the deen of a person. So, and my last point is, all men, I don't have to use Farah, but for the context of people here, Farah needs to start being more vulnerable.
Can I hear that again? Faras need to be more vulnerable.
And I don't like the term Farah because it's kind of derogatory, but for the time being, Farah needs to be more vulnerable.
Which means Somali men, boys, it's okay to be vulnerable. That's what that means. My next question to the lovely three males that are in this field. I'm so honored. Like I'm telling you, St. Cloud, you guys are stacked. It's not fair to the rest of the world. But what is your perspective of mental health in the Somali community?
Well, since Mohammed started with the Farah, I want to continue with the Farah. It's not easy to be Farah.
It's not easy, huh?
Not at all. Hawa Haaji. I mean, you've been told from young age, like, men don't cry, you know, ibta al-qari, you know, hold it up, suck it up, you're gonna make success for the family. Mothers typically spoil the kids, the boys, put a lot of pressure and protect them. And then when you go out, let's say in the USA here, you grow up, you're black, you're male, you have identity issues, and you cannot go back home and tell your mom your parents there. You know, most of the times the father is not there. Even if he's there, the way they grow up, when they grow in their childhood, you're not supposed to tell your parents anything, right? You listen, you nod your head, and you go home. As a boy, when you're going through all this struggle in schools or in life, and you have these identity issues, you cannot go back home and cry and say, hey, mommy, daddy, this is what I struggle with. So what do? A friend of you will pass you a drug and tell you, hey, try this. This will numb your pain. And before you know it, the fun starts to be an addiction, and an addiction takes you over. And you cannot go back home and tell, hey, mommy, daddy, this is what I'm struggling with. This is what I have. So now, I mean, it's not a secret. Opioid epidemic is everywhere, and it's hitting. By the way, addiction does not discriminate what color you are, where you come from. But if you're black and you're male, there's health disparities. And you cannot go back home and tell your mom that you're struggling, and you're struggling with this pain, and you cannot deal with it. So what do? You keep hiding, you keep hiding, you keep hiding until you die. So there's a problem with that.
I love that you said that. I remember I went back to school at 50 plus and did social work, and they told us about concurrent disorders where you have an addiction and the mental health issue together. So that gets even more complicated, doesn't it?
100%. I mean, even in this country for a long time, they treated addiction separately, and they treated mental health separately. They didn't see it, it's a one thing. When you're addicted, you have mental health, and when you have mental health, most of the times you use to numb that pain and deal with that mental health. So they have to be addressed together. I've been working in a dictionary field for about the past 3 years, and it's amazing when you see a group of young men, Somali, they sit together because they grew up. The message they got is, "Don't say your secret out," right? So they hide it from each other, but then they hear the stories. Hey, you grew up that way, I grew up that way, I grew up that way, you grew up. So they kind of like, hey, we all have the same problem. Let's talk to each other. Then they tell you, hey, I have tattoo. I cannot show my mom my tattoo. Who cares about your tattoo? Are you healthy? Can you talk to your mom? But your mom, she's gonna shame me. My mom's gonna tell me you're going to hell. So that's another whole conversation. You have to work on healing the person first. Then empower them to have that courage to discuss that with their mom and educating the mom, hey, tattoo is not the problem. You have a bigger problem right now. Let's face with the tattoos later.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
So, what's the perspective of mental health in the Somali community?
In your opinion, yeah.
Yes. Well, also in the research, I think the perspective is that Somalis externalize illnesses, where in the Western culture, it's more internal. So, for example, I'm going to use some technical terms here, but it's internal. It's something conflict within you, intrapsychic conflict. So, or maybe cognition, like the way you think, something is wrong with it. So that's what the therapist will do. They will kind of modify your thinking so you can feel better and behave well. So in the Western culture, it's all in your head mostly, and maybe in your genes. Where in the Somali culture, it's all external. So it's gene, it's ill, it's maybe not having housing, or not having a job, or not having money to support your family. So because the Somalis are coming from that perspective and the West is coming from the internal perspective, then sometimes it's really hard for our community to accept it. Because accepting the internal perspective brings also shame. So there is something wrong with you internally. And sometimes even if we say something's wrong with your genes, means your ancestors, your families had this, and there's a big shame with that within the Somali community, as you guys probably know. You don't marry that family because they have something's wrong with them, and Firko, has this. So I guess that's one of the probably the biggest difference that you can see between the Somali perspective and the Western perspective. But I think it's always both. There is some internal component to it, but there is also external component to it. So you can say if somebody doesn't have a job, then they will be stressed, they will be sad, they will be depressed, they will be anxious. So you have to accept that external piece, but at the same time also you have to accept the internal piece, because you see two people who are similar, who don't have job, both of them, one of them gets depressed, but the other one doesn't. So that's one. So then we have to do a lot of psychoeducation within the Somali community and help them understand that it's usually a combination of the two.
Thank you very much. I love that. And for those of you who don't know what jinn and ill is, it's just giving, probably Ayman can explain that better, but it's giving a supernatural, or saying the person is possessed by a devil, and that used to be the case in the Western society as well, where people had, I think the word is exorcisms, as opposed to understanding that this is a mental health issue. So that's what the jinn and the evil eye is, the ill. So giving spiritual connotations to what could be mental health. The perfect English comes out sometimes, I don't know how.
MashaAllah, the perspective the brothers have said it. And to add to it, I would like to point out the specifics. I'm a solution based. The brothers have already spoken about the perspective. Just to sum it up, as Somalis, we go more forward. We base it of supernatural, metaphysical, instead of the Western perspective, physiology, ecological, social. So mine will always base it in something bigger than jinn, ill, something like that. But for me, as someone who's living in the West, and someone who has children, a proud father of a son and a daughter, I always like to talk to the parents and tell them the solution is to talk to your kids. I cannot stress more than that. Living in this country, every day you have to check in with your child. When they wake up in the morning and say, Baba, how's your day going? Try this tomorrow before your child goes to school. Baba, how's your day going? Baba, let's have a great day today. And when they come back, ask your child, how was school today? Just try two things. Tell me one thing that went well and one thing that did not go well. Practice that. If that does not change how you feel and how your child feels, come see me and smack me in the face. Wallahi, as speaking to your child makes a difference.
We don't condone violence on the show.
Yeah, I'm
He's
sorry
just
about that.
joking.
It's just a joke. Thank you for correcting me. So,
I got you.
Yeah, thank you. Always got me. It's not easy.
Not easy.
So the whole point is be in tune to your child's emotions. And we can only do that when we know how we feel ourselves. Sometimes we see our children reacting, not listening to us. It's because we ourselves are traumatized and troubled. We're not in tune on how we feel. So we take it on the child. So I'll basically say, let's talk to our children more. Let's talk to them, let's ask them how they feel, and that will in turn help us and help them grow emotionally intelligent, inshallah.
Wow. Where were you when I was raising Samatar and Batula? I think I smacked them upside the head. I shouldn't have done it. I regret it. Thank God Children's Aid, which is Child Protective Service, didn't get called. But anyways, I really, really appreciate having the male perspective. We had young people in the audience, and I know that it was a little bit above their heads, but thank you for listening. Thank you for giving us all your attention. You guys are wonderful. And thank you for being on the Hawa Haaji show live in St. Cloud. It's not easy. So, we got a little bit of budget and we bought some affirmation cards. These affirmation cards have changed my life because every morning and every event I go to or dinner with friends when I'm, jamming out with the 50 plus people, I hand them out and I tell people to read it. So I'm gonna ask you guys a question, and whoever answers it is gonna get it for free on the Hawa Haaji show. So first question, how old is Hawa Haaji? Yes? 50 plus. There you go. That's for you. I love that. You guys can ask questions too if you want. Are you DJ Khaled? What do you mean another one? Okay, the next question is, what are the 2 questions that our woke imam said to ask your child? This is for the parents, I'm sorry. Yes, you, the light-skinned lady. Give a round of applause. This is for you. I'm not going to throw it. We don't have insurance. Can you give it to her, please? Thank you very much. She looks like my sister, but lighter. Yes, please ask a question.
All right, so my question is, should I do it for the kids or for the parents? Who? I can't hear. The kids? Okay, fine. All right, what are the names of Hawa Haaji's kids? Her 2 kids, what are their names? There's a boy and a girl. Do you remember? Yes. Not Halima, no? Yes. There you go, she got it. Good job. I'll give it to one of
said earlier? Raise your hand, you know. Good job. Yeah.
What was the poem Hawa Haaji's daughter wrote to her Abti? The title of it, yeah. The first one. It should be easy. Be specific. It's about COVID-19.
It was called What It Took. But it was definitely about COVID-19.
This is for the man here. Do you guys remember what was Imam Muhammad's advice for the men? Yes? Okay, what was his advice regarding your emotions? Let me be more specific. Yeah? Yes? There you go.
The beautiful thing about vulnerability is that it gives permission for others to share what they're going through too. You should try it.
So, I have a question specifically for the brother in the gray that raised his hand. Because I feel like Walaga Hamid, so we need to give you a chance, okay? What is our question? What should we ask him?
What is mental health?
That's deep. I'm going to ask him that question. That's a loaded question, sorry. This one is called Finish Those Lyrics, okay? But we got to hear you. You got to tell us the next line. Yes. I invite you personally.
Oh, come on. But that's for them, yeah.
You can phone a friend.
Phone a friend.
Okay, I'll start with something easier. They call me in these streets. I'm a certified G, right? Yes. Give him the card. This one did say I was a certified G.
All right.
This might be a little bit difficult. What are the 5 necessities of Islam? What are the 5 necessities Islam came to protect? Anybody can answer now. Not the pillars. Maqasid al-Sharia is called the 5 necessities of legislation in Islam. Anybody can answer? That's a tough one there. You gotta get the last one.
Okay, what's the question? What was the question?
There's a lot of people that know in here.
What's the question?
5 necessities
Repeat the
of
question.
the Sharia. 5 necessities of Islam's legislation. It's the last one. Somebody gotta get it. I said it.
All right, I'll start with you guys. Protection of
Yeah.
property.
Okay, I'm gonna try to.
This is hard.
That one is.
That one is hard.
That one is not easy. Okay, this one is a dua that the Prophet ﷺ, he told us to read in the morning and in the evening. That will protect us from all evil. And you read it 3 times in the morning and 3 times in the evening. Ayatul Kursi, I said du'as. Ayatul Kursi is an ayah.
What's the question again?
Perfect. Give me 2. Nice job. that note, I would like to take the opportunity and to emphasize the importance of reading the morning adhkar and the evening adhkar. And I don't know if you watched it, there's an episode that came out recently, a Russian magician, a witch. I don't know if you watched it with Google. She said, I've tried doing it on anyone else at work, but it never works on Muslims who are practicing. And she said, whenever I do it, I see an object or someone literally approaching me and stopping me. And she said, the practicing Muslims, I cannot do it. And this is what our religion has given us, protection in the morning and protection in the evening. Well, if a Muslim person protects his adhkar in the morning and in the evening, and always stays consistent in having wudu, Allah will protect you from all evil. And that's a proof. We don't need God to tell us the proof because we believe in Allah too, but a scientific proof. I challenge you all to look it up. A Russian witch, she said, my witch does not work on practicing Muslims because they pray in the morning and in the evening. She actually said in the morning and in the evening. So I urge everyone to grab Hisn Muslim. It's a small booklet. Read your adhkar in the morning and in the evening. And wallahi, it will change your life. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us in this world and hereafter. And thank you, all of you.
And that concludes our show. Thank you everybody for coming. Please eat the food outside. We don't like to waste. And you guys have been a wonderful audience. Thank you.